The red and blue glow danced across the glassy surface of the lake, casting ripples of color through the fog. My driveway looked like a crime scene, even though all I'd done was drink my morning coffee. At the end of that gravel strip stood Karen Reynolds, arms folded, lips pursed, cheeks blazing like she'd been simmering on a stovetop since sunrise. "Officer!" she shrieked to the uniformed man beside her. "That man is trespassing on our lake property. He refuses to join the HOA." The deputy shifted his sunglasses, weighing her outrage against my calm expression. I leaned against my black pickup, badge half hidden under my flannel. I didn't say a word. The wind rustled pine needles overhead. Even the birds seemed to pause, waiting to see whose voice would break first. "Ma'am," the officer said slowly, "are you aware this man is with the highway patrol?" Karen froze mid-bluster, clipboard trembling. The red in her face drained faster than the fuel in my truck during patrol season. What?" Silence. I didn't need to say anything. Truth did all the heavy lifting. That moment changed everything. The stare between us lasted only seconds, but it carried weeks of feud, pride, and paperwork. To understand how we ended up with cops at my lake, you've got to roll the reel back 3 weeks. Before the shouting, before the pink violation slips, before I realized that in Maple Shores, one woman's hobby was turning order into war. A brief calm break follows before we dive deeper. Thank you for being the reason I keep sharing these wild, small-town sagas. If you're enjoying the story pace so far, hit the like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe so Coffee and Chaos keep funding each other. Now let's head back to where it all started. The day I met her. I'd dreamed of a quiet retirement spot. Just a lakeside cabin, a faithful dog, and water still enough to mirror the clouds. Maple Shores looked perfect. Tall pines whispering, secrets, loons calling across dawn mist, and peace so deep it almost felt borrowed. I'd barely unpacked when fate strutted up my driveway, wearing heels and authority. Karen Reynolds, queen, ruler, and apparently self-appointed goddess of Maple Shores, appeared behind an armory of blonde curls and one freshly polished clipboard. "Good morning," she sang, voice bright enough to crack glass. "Welcome to our community. I'm Karen Reynolds, president of the Maple Shores Homeowners Association." The word president rolled off her tongue like a royal title. I wiped my hands on my jeans. "Morning, ma'am," I said. "Mark Davis." Her eyes flicked to the truck in my driveway, noting the patrol lights still mounted on top. For a heartbeat, her smile faltered. But control is her cardio. It snapped right back. "Well, Mr. Davis," she continued briskly, flipping papers, "here are our HOA documents. We meet first Saturday each month. Dues are $450 quarterly, plus lake maintenance fees." I blinked. "Lake maintenance?" "Of course," she chirped. "The lake is our crown jewel, shared property of Maple Shores. Everyone contributes." I reached into my jacket and handed her a neatly folded deed. "According to this, the crown jewel belongs to me outright." Her smile dropped a full octave. "Impossible. The HOA has always maintained that lake." "Then consider this your first policy change," I said gently. She gave a short, humorless laugh. "You're new. You'll adjust." And with the royal dismissal of a queen leaving peasants behind, she pivoted and sashayed down my driveway. For a few days afterward, the neighborhood returned to postcard stillness. I fixed the dock, painted the boathouse, threw sticks for Bruno, my golden lab who believed fetch should be an Olympic sport. But peace never lasts long next door to obsession. From the corner of my eye, I'd catch her silhouette by the property. Line, arms folded, phone raised, documenting every breath my dog took. Sometimes she brought her reluctant sidekick, Linda, vice president of forced participation. They whispered like villains planning a bake sale takeover. Then one morning, the first pink slip appeared on my mailbox. Notice of violation. Unauthorized dock construction on HOA property. Immediate removal required. I read it, sighed, and muttered, "Here we go." That afternoon I walked to her yard. She was pruning roses as if punishing them. "Morning, Ms. Reynolds," I said evenly. "About this notice." Without looking up, she declared, "HOA rules say no unapproved dock repairs." I handed over my deed again. "This isn't HOA property." Finally, she looked up, narrowing her eyes. "You can't opt out, Mr. Davis. Everyone by the lake belongs to Maple Shores. We maintain order." "Then maybe I'm not part of Maple Shores," I said lightly. Her jaw flexed. "You'll regret this attitude." I tipped my hat. "Only thing I regret is not bringing popcorn." Behind her, Linda winced like she wished she'd stayed in bed. That was the day the Cold War began. It started subtle. Trash. Cans knocked over at night. Letters citing imaginary infractions. Neighbors looking away like they'd been told gossip too spicy to repeat. Karen's domain covered lawns and fear ranks. Bruno came home one afternoon with a bright orange sticker stuck to his collar. Pets must remain leashed per HOA regulation. I exhaled through a half-smile. They're regulating my dog now. Still, I refused to play dirty. Instead of shouting back, I waved. Instead of anger, I smiled. Nothing unsettles tyrants quite like calm confidence. But being ignored was kryptonite to Karen. She needed confrontation like plants need sunlight. So one Saturday, when the lake shimmered calm as a mirror, she forced her next move, megaphone in hand, voice slicing through the air. "Attention! Trespasser unauthorized on HOA property." I turned from my fishing line. She stood there, flanked by 2 board members, one filming. "Ma'am," I called evenly, "this lake is private property. I can show papers." "You'll be hearing from our lawyers," she bellowed. I couldn't help it. I laughed. But instead of lawyers, she dialed something louder. Sirens. 2 hours later, the sheriff's cars rolled in like an uninvited parade. Karen positioned herself dramatically beside the road, ready for her big moment. And that's how we circled back to the flashing lights, the start of a showdown she wasn't prepared for. The officers stepped out cautiously. "Ma'am, sir, we received a call about property dispute and trespassing." Karen jumped right in. "Yes, that man refuses to pay HOA fees and is using our community lake illegally." Her tone had the triumph of someone filming her own documentary. One officer glanced at me. "Sir, documents?" "Absolutely." I handed over the deed. "Lake and land, single ownership, mine. County record backs it." Karen's hands fluttered, words stumbling. "That can't, no, the HOA..." The officer raised a palm. "Ma'am, please calm down." Then noticed the gleam at my chest, the small badge resting under my shirt. "Wait," he said slowly. "Your highway patrol?" I nodded. "Off duty today." Silence. Karen's jaw slackened. Reality finally arrived late to her party. That was the moment her empire cracked, but not yet collapsed. Because if Karen had one superpower, it wasn't authority. It was persistence. And persistent people with clipboards can cause more chaos than thunderstorms. Gravel popped beneath fresh tires that afternoon. The county vehicle rolled up, gold badge glinting through the windshield. Beside it, Karen nearly vibrated with satisfaction, convinced she'd summoned the cavalry. "Inspector Reynolds," she announced grandly as the man stepped out. "He'll confirm everything." The inspector approached with professional calm, tablet in hand. "Mr. Davis, ma'am," he greeted. "We're verifying property boundaries and HOA jurisdiction after a complaint." Karen folded her arms, smug as sunrise. I smiled, gesturing toward the porch. "Let's review somewhere quiet." While we sat, Karen hovered close enough to absorb every syllable. The inspector scrolled through county records, frown deepening. "Interesting," he murmured. "According to this, your property predates the HOA by almost 40 years. Deed valid, uncontested." Karen's confidence faltered. "That can't be right. We've maintained the lake for years." "Maintenance doesn't equal ownership." he replied evenly. She blinked, speechless. A rare natural disaster. He turned to me. We'll file clarification confirming your rights, Mr. Davis. I recommend formality to prevent future conflicts. That's fine, I said. I'd settle for peace. Karen sputtered protest until the inspector raised a hand. Ma'am, drones or photography over private property constitute violation. Her expression twisted. The younger deputy snickered but hid it behind a cough. When the county car departed, Karen remained on the curb, face tight as piano wire. You'll regret humiliating me, she hissed. Ma'am, I said softly, I'd just appreciate quiet Sunday mornings again. She stomped off, heels stabbing gravel with defiance. I watched her vanish between manicured hedges, an uneasy calm falling over the lake. The inspector's last words echoed in my head like thunder from a distant ridge. Formal dispute resolved or not, storms have a way of circling back. For a week, Maple Shores pretended nothing had happened. But paranoia doesn't take vacations. It started with soft buzzing at twilight, barely audible over cricket song. Then shadows flickering across my living room wall, darting, hovering, retreating. When I stepped outside, the source winked red up above. A drone. Camera eye shimmering like a firefly with intent. Bruno, I murmured. My lab barked ferociously, tail a metronome of outrage. Next day, a package appeared on my porch. Another pink notice reading surveillance authorized under HOA Covenant 3B. I laughed aloud. Nice try, Karen. I marched it straight to Sheriff Thompson. The man had heard every flavor of neighbor dispute, but this one earned an arched brow. A drone clause? He said. She's stretching law like saltwater taffy. He scribbled a note. We'll have a word with her. True to his promise, 2 deputies paid Karen a polite visit. I didn't hear their conversation, but that night the silence returned. Almost. At midnight, Bruno's growl woke me. Through the window, tiny red dots pulsed across my dock cameras. Someone was out there again, testing boundaries. I flipped on the floodlights. The forest blinked into brilliance, outlines scrambling away. I didn't chase. I just waited, coffee in hand, until the rain began, washing the night clean. Morning brought peace. Temporary, of course, because when control addicts lose tools, they build new ones. And I suspected her next project would be paperwork shaped like revenge. The call came from the county office 2 mornings later. Mr. Davis? We've received a legal claim challenging your lake deed. Filed by Maple Shores HOA, signed Karen Reynolds. I stared at the phone, half amused, half exasperated. Of course you have. At the office, the clerk slid the document across the counter. It looked like it had been typed in a hurry, full of bold accusations and missing punctuation, a legal tantrum disguised as formality. She's nothing if not persistent, I muttered. Persistent and wrong, the clerk said, grinning. Your ownership's airtight. Still, across the parking lot, a familiar silhouette leaned against her SUV, sunglasses glinting. Karen watched me, smiled sweet as rusted nails, and called across the lot. Enjoy it while you can, Mr. Davis. We'll see who owns what soon. I gave a friendly wave. Let her interpret it as victory. I preferred surprise endings. That evening I visited Sheriff Thompson again. He chuckled long and low when I relayed the latest development. She's addicted to losing slow. Then let's make sure she hits rock bottom legally, not literally, I said. I'll keep an eye on her. Maybe she'll cool off, but she wouldn't. People who trade reason for pride seldom retreat. Outside, thunder rolled over the lake, reflecting blue-white veins of lightning. I looked across the water and whispered, You bought the wrong fight, Karen. Bruno barked, echo carrying into the storm. Somewhere across the shore, I swore I heard a single reply. The slam of a screen door, like punctuation to a feud that refused to die. Rain hammered shingles and thunder stitched the sky edge to edge. By 9 p.m., my house was wrapped in sound and flickering light. Then Bruno barked, low, urgent. I looked out, flashlights bobbing near the dock. Three figures cloaked in rain gear, one too short for subtlety. Karen in a blue poncho, clipboard still in hand. Bless her consistency. I grabbed my jacket and trudged through mud and rain. "Karen!" I shouted over the wind. "What are you doing on my property?" She turned dramatically. "Investigation. Reports of chemical dumping. We're testing samples for community safety." Even Thunder groaned at that nonsense. Tom, one of her board lackeys, stammered, "Karen, maybe?" "Quiet, Tom." Lightning slashed the lake, followed by deafening crack. A branch snapped, crashing into water yards away. Spray drenched us all. Karen stumbled, shrieked, and nearly face-planted into the mud. "That's enough," I barked. "You're trespassing during a storm. Leave now!" She glared, rain streaking mascara like war paint. "You think this scares me? You haven't seen anything yet." I pointed toward my house. "Out before you get struck by reality or lightning." They retreated, squelching uphill. Their taillights vanished through sheets of rain. Relief came, until I spotted something dark near the dock post, half submerged. I lifted it. Small, waterproof camera light still blinking. Bruno whined. I exhaled cold frustration. She wasn't inspecting, she was filming evidence for fantasy court. When dawn's gray light crept over the pines, I set that camera on my kitchen table. Its red dot winked till the battery died. Another storm, smaller but sharper, was about to hit her. Sheriff Thompson examined the soaked camera like a cat testing unfamiliar prey. "So she planted surveillance on your dock?" "During lightning, yes." "Leadership through danger," I said dryly. He shook his head. "You've got patience of a saint, Mark. We'll pull footage. Charge trespass if it checks out." A truth I'd learned in law enforcement. Some folks only believe boundaries after they're spelled out in court ink. By noon, the sheriff called back. "You were right." She filmed everything, made herself narrator. "We'll file tonight." I leaned back, exhaling. She wanted attention. "She's about to get headlines." That day felt lighter until a soft knock interrupted supper. A nervous young woman stood on my porch clutching an envelope. "Sir, I'm Emily from Maple Shores Administration. Mrs. Reynolds asked me to deliver this." Inside lay a typed threat cobbled from pseudo-legal jargon. Emily whispered, "She said she'd fire me if I refused." "Not your blame," I assured her. "Remember, bullies need believers." She smiled faintly, tension easing. As she drove off, I realized the perfect storm forming. Karen's empire cracking from within, and cracks, left unattended, tend to collapse spectacularly. For 2 blessed days, the neighborhood hummed with fragile harmony. Kids rode bikes, sprinklers hissed, BBQ smoke drifted lazily, Peace performing a dress rehearsal. Then the camera crew showed up. A silver SUV rolled to a stop, followed by a van plastered with Lakeside news logos. Out stepped a man wearing sunglasses despite the cloudy day. "Jeff Henson, local media," he announced. "We're covering allegations of police corruption." Behind him, click heels, blue blazer perfection, and Karen, newly television ready. "Mr. Davis," she declared theatrically, "how does it feel to bully innocent homeowners using your badge?" I folded my arms. "Same way it feels watching someone misuse a clipboard. Predictable. See?" She snapped at the camera. "Hostile!" Jeff asked. "Care to respond, sir?" "Sure. She's trespassed, filmed illegally, and ignored county rulings. Sheriff has evidence." Karen laughed brittly. "He's bluffing." I leaned in slightly. "That waterproof camera you left?" "It's in police custody." Her mask cracked, a heartbeat of panic before indignation replaced it. Jeff's eyebrows met. "Camera?" I nodded. "She filmed without consent." Confusion rippled through the crew. Jeff turned toward his cameraman. "We need fact check before airing," Karen hissed. "We air tonight." "No verification, no story." She stomped off mid-rant. Gravel sprayed under her tires again. Jeff sighed. "Sorry, sir. Some people crave spotlight more than truth." I chuckled softly. Spotlights show every flaw. Once they left, the quiet returned, and I almost pitied her. Almost, because people who frame life like a reality show usually end up written out of it. That night, phone buzzed. "Mr. Davis," a soft voice said, "this is Linda, HOA Vice President. Karen's organizing an emergency rally tomorrow. She's calling it Reclaim the Lake." I rubbed my temple. Of course she is. She's claiming you're a corrupt cop taking community property. That rumor will age poorly, I muttered. Linda sighed. She's angry, desperate. Many members are quitting. Maybe show up, tell your side? I agreed, half out of strategy, half curiosity about watching a meltdown in high definition. Morning light arrived carrying echoes of engines and chatter. Cars lined the road like spectators at a circus. A makeshift podium and cheap loudspeaker waited at the community center. Karen stood atop stage boards, eyes blazing devotion to her cause. "We won't let outsiders steal our heritage!" she shouted, pointing at me as I approached with the sheriff. The murmurs spread until the county clerk raised his hand, reading aloud, "Property and full water rights legally belong to Mark Davis. Predating HOA formation." Gasps, flashbulbs. Karen's defiance shattered mid-sentence. The sheriff leaned close, voice calm. "Ma'am, you've made public false accusations." "Serious charge," she backed away, muttering, "Appeal! You'll all see." Her supporters slipped quietly toward their cars. Bruno barked once, sealing the verdict better than any gavel. The rally finally scattered. Cars crawled away, one by one, their brake lights stretching down the road like a retreating army. Even the air seemed relieved. I stayed by the lake until only ripples and the echo of Karen's last shriek lingered. That evening, sunset spilled like molten copper across the water. For the first time in weeks, I tasted peace, a fragile, cautious flavor. Bruno lounged on the porch beside the sizzling grill, head on his paws, dreaming of stolen fish dinners. When midnight came, the quiet fractured. Bruno shot up barking, deep and wild. I grabbed the flashlight and swept the beam over the dock. Something bobbed near the ladder, a small cylinder blinking red beneath the surface. Another camera. I hauled it out. Water poured down my sleeves. Same model as before, but cleaner, newer, almost professional. Headlights cut through the trees before I could process it. Linda's white SUV fishtailed to a stop in my yard. Still wearing pajama pants, she sprinted up the steps. "She's lost it completely," she panted. "Karen just emailed the whole HOA saying you bribed the sheriff. She's threatening lawsuits against everyone." "She also planted that," I said, showing the dripping camera. "She's crossed the border from nuisance to felony." Linda pressed her hands to her face. "The board's calling another emergency meeting tomorrow. Please come, Mark. They need to hear the truth from you." I nodded. "I'll be there." After she left, I called Officer Daniels. His tired sigh crackled through the line. "We'll grab the evidence at dawn. Keep lights on, doors locked, easier said than done." Sleep refused to land. I sat on the porch, moon shining silver trails over the lake while Bruno's tail thumped softly against my boot. Somewhere out there, a loon cried, a lonely, dissonant note that swelled, then faded, like a warning drifting on wind. Morning light shimmered through fog thick enough to chew. I poured coffee, thinking maybe drama finally slept. Then the rumble came, engines, several. Down the drive, a convoy crawled into view. 4 gleaming SUVs marked HOA Enforcement Division. I nearly laughed coffee through my nose. She'd formed her own militia. The lead man stepped out, chest puffed. "Good morning, sir. Community inspection for suspected contamination. Standard procedure." I folded my arms. "Standard where, exactly? Dictators are us?" He blinked, paper trembling. "Reports of oil leaks from boat maintenance potentially affecting communal water." "Communal water doesn't apply here. That document should tell you so." I handed him a copy of my deed, laminated purely for moments like this. He scanned the lines, color draining from his face. Behind him, the team exchanged glances. "We were told by President Reynolds. Ms. Reynolds no longer holds office," another voice interrupted. Linda, stepping from her car, hair unbrushed, courage steady. "As of last night's vote, she's removed." The men froze, caught between embarrassment and relief. I smirked. "Gentlemen, you might want to take that parade somewhere legal." They packed up fast, the faux convoy rolling away slower than shame. Linda handed me a folded paper. "It's official. She's out, but she's furious. Said she'd sue everyone who betrayed her." "Let her file away," I muttered. I'm building a trophy shelf for her paperwork. We both managed a strained laugh. The wind carried pine bark scent, and somewhere far across the lake, the faint sound of a door slamming like the closing chapter she refused to sign. Just when I thought peace had finally unpacked its bags, the universe coughed up another message. 4 words glowed on my phone at dawn. You haven't won yet. No number, no signature. Just threat disguised as riddle. Mail came a few hours later, one more of her trademark pink notices nailed to the fence post. Final warning. Enjoy your lake while you can. Bruno sniffed it, growled low. I tore it down, tossed it onto the porch, and dialed Sheriff Thompson. He groaned. We traced her burner laptop. Judge-approved order to seize devices today. We'll handle it. That night I drove into town for supplies. At the diner intersection, Karen's silver SUV waited at the stop sign, windows half rolled. She locked eyes with me, lifted her phone to her ear, and smiled that slow serpent smile that says, checkmate, even when she's losing. I didn't stop. I just kept rolling. Returning home past dusk, unease gripped me before headlights touched the drive. The gate stood half open, latch twisted. Inside, Bruno barked himself hoarse. Across the water, a low motor buzzed. A small boat drifted near the far shore. A man sat in it, hood up, jacket dark. He lifted something that caught moonlight, a camera lens or a scope, then turned away, rowing into fog. Daniels, I said into the phone. Someone's filming again. Not Karen this time? Male, mid-30s, slick gear, he exhaled sharply. She's pulling outsiders in. We'll trace every rental on that lake tomorrow. I hung up, stood by the water, and whispered to the ripples. This isn't her feud anymore, thunder grumbled in answer. By morning, the air tasted metallic, charged. Every breeze carried static and suspicion. When I checked the cameras, one feed flickered, west fence offline. I walked the property, Bruno pacing at my side. That's when I saw fresh footprints pressed deep into mud, leading toward the old oak line. Buried halfway under leaves sat a steel device the size of a lunchbox. Wired and humming, a live transmitter flashing a heartbeat of red light. I lifted it carefully, mud slick on my gloves. Another surveillance unit. Stamped faintly into the casing were 3 letters. K.R.I. Sheriff Thompson arrived within the hour. He scratched his beard, scowled. Industrial grade. She's contracting help, I said. Or someone's using her crusade for cover. He nodded slowly. She may not be the one steering anymore. That night, fatigue lost the fight against paranoia. I sat in darkness, the house silent except for Bruno's breathing and the occasional creak of settling wood. Near 2 a.m., a vibration shivered the air, steady hum like an angry mosquito. Another drone. It hovered above the treetops, red eye pulsing, then zipped toward town. I stood there a long minute thinking how fast one woman's obsession had evolved into organized surveillance. Pride had turned into a network, and the network was watching even her slip away. Rain poured again before dawn, the kind that soaks silence deeper. Around breakfast, a state car pulled up. Agent Brooks, in a dark suit that didn't touch mud, flashed credentials. Mr. Davis, we're coordinating with your sheriff. Your neighbor's actions linked to out-of-state surveillance contractors. So she paid professionals to spy over fish territory? Apparently, but it's unraveling. She's now missing. I paused mid-sip. Missing? Her tone softened. Car found near the quarry, phone smashed. We're tracking digital pings from her devices. Someone else accessed them overnight. When Brooks left, wind whipped through the pines, bending them like bowstrings. That evening, voicemail buzzed. Karen's voice crackled through static, broken and trembling. Mark! Stop digging. You don't understand. They won't let me... Then silence. I replayed it twice. Whatever monster she'd awakened had turned on its creator. I phoned Thompson. His grim sigh filled the line. We're searching the quarry now. Stay put. Lock up. After hanging up, I stared at the lake. Mist hovered, thick and ghostly. Somewhere across the water, a faint light blinked, disappearing before I could focus. I whispered to the dark. What did you find, Karen? No answer, just Bruno's uneasy growl melting into Thunder's low growl behind the hills. By late afternoon, Daniels arrived with soaked boots and heavier news. 2 tire patterns by the quarry. One matches a private investigator truck from a dissolved company. Looks like she hired them off record. If true, she'd crossed into dangerous company. Hours later, my phone rang. Linda again, voice shaking. "Mark, she kept a storage locker downtown." "I came for HOA paperwork. Found boxes of photos of your cabin, maps of the lake, and letters signed TR. They talk about payments, hidden data, even a mark in the water labeled X. Leave now," I warned. "Go straight to the sheriff." Static swallowed her words. The line cut. I drove like the wind could catch me. Her car idled at the storage row, engine purring but door hanging open. Inside the unit, chaos, scattered photos, overturned boxes, stale gasoline scent. A duffel bag of cameras sat ripped open. The two-way radio crackled. "He's there," a man's distorted voice said. "Get out!" Footsteps pounded metal floors, fading into rain. When deputies arrived minutes later, only empty air remained. The sheriff studied the scene, jaw set. "They're planning another drop, dawn by the lake." We move before sunrise. Outside, lightning stitched the clouds again, reflecting red across the tense black water. Fog hugged the shoreline as deputies crouched low among reeds. I stood behind the patrol truck, binoculars trembling slightly in damp hands. Out on the mirror-flat lake, a motor hummed, 1 long, 2 short thrusts. 3 shadows in a boat moved toward center. "They're here," I whispered. 3 of them. "Hold," Thompson murmured through radio static. But when the boat reached mid-lake, one figure looked up, saw my reflection glint off binoculars, and panicked. The motor roared. Another man flung something overboard. A heavy splash rang out, echoing like a trapped heartbeat. "Move!" the sheriff barked. Deputies burst from cover, sirens splitting dawn. Flare light painted the fog blazing orange as divers hit the water. Within minutes, they surfaced clutching a black duffel, weighed down with chain. Inside, waterproof drives, camera decks, encrypted cases labeled TR no bodies, no women. Then one diver surfaced again, holding a smaller waterproof box. Inside, a folded page sealed in plastic. Karen's handwriting, shaky, rushed. I was wrong. Trust him. The truth belongs to the lake. The sheriff read it twice, then quietly folded it back. She tried to fix the fire she lit. We stood there while sunrise burned away the fog. For a moment, the water looked pure again, almost innocent, as though it hadn't held weeks of secrets beneath its calm skin. Weeks later, case reports stacked higher than my tackle box. Investigators traced those files to an old developer who'd bankrolled the HOA, a money laundering front disguised as lake upkeep. Karen had stumbled onto it by accident and woke the wrong ghosts. No sign of her or Linda, just silence, and an abandoned black boat found near the quarry. Motor still warm when discovered. The community dissolved its HOA. Maple Shores finally felt like home again, though peace now carried a hint of caution, the way calm follows thunder. I rebuilt the dock plank by plank. Bruno splashed happily, every bark echoing freedom. Sometimes mist rolls low and I could swear I hear her voice across the water, half apology, half curse. Maybe imagination, maybe wind finding melody in guilt. When night settles, I patrol once around the shore, flashlight sweeping across still ripples. Habit, reflex, memory, all the same now. The moon hovers above like a silent witness. I stop at the dock's edge, coffee steaming in my hand, and whisper more to myself than to anyone or anything. This lake is mine. Not ownership of paper or pride, ownership of survival. Of truth earned drop by drop. Bruno thumps his tail once. The water mirrors the stars, and somewhere beneath, unfinished echoes finally rest.